Hey there, everyone. It's GG Sober Son. October 11th, AA Thought for the Day. How good a sponsor am I? When I bring new members to a meeting, do I feel that my responsibility has ended? Or do I make it my job to stay with them until they have either become good members of AA, whatever that means, or have found another sponsor? If they don't show up for a meeting, do I say to myself, well, they've had it put up to them, so if they don't want it, there's nothing more I can do? Or do I look them up and find out whether there is a reason for their absence or that they don't want AA? Do I go out of my way to find out if there is anything more I can do to help? Am I a good sponsor? And I guess sponsor in the original sense of the word was that people couldn't just walk into an AA meeting in its early days. You know, you had to know somebody who was a member, and or they had to come and find you, and then obviously if you wanted it, then they would sponsor you in, kind of thing. And but yeah, that's a good question. I think sometimes some of my abandonment issues come in and I start feeling like I'm a salesperson or something like that, and so I back off. But again, it all goes back to, in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession we have. You know, we can avert death and misery for others, but only if they want it. And so I don't think that God would have me shoving it down someone's throat, recovery. So if they don't want it, then God will give me the grace to back off. And sometimes it's just something else comes up and I get distracted, which I'm very distractible. Meditation for the day. First, be reconciled to your, this is a quote, first be reconciled to your brother and then come and offer your gift to God. First, end quote. First, I must get right with other people and then I can get right with God. If I hold a resentment against someone, which I find it very difficult to overcome, I should try to put something else constructive into my mind. I should pray for the one against whom I hold the resentment. I should put that person in God's hands and let God show him or her the way to live. I don't know about all that. We pray good things for them. Page 552 of the big book. It's a story in the back of the big book. And I guess I should say the 4th edition, page 552. If you have a resentment, pray for good things for that person for 2 weeks and you'll be free. Basically is what the big book says. Wipe. We got some rain happening here. Okay, so quote, if a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, with whom he hath seen, how can he love God, whom he hath not seen? End quote. And again, we're quoting the Bible. I get it, but kind of misquoting it in a way. It says quote, but it goes back to my literary geekiness and what I learned in college is when you quote something, you gotta reference it. Don't just quote it. But I suppose that was them trying to hold back the author, trying to hold back on getting too religious. But it drips with religion. And Christian religion at that, which obviously I've shared before, that is my concept of a higher power, is Jesus Christ. But, you know, if you're trying to break things down for newcomers, you don't want to overdo that. But nevertheless, this kind of goes back to making connections with other people in recovery. It's important to avoid the do good, get good, do bad, get bad notion of a spiritual walk. So grace is sufficient. I can still have a relationship, and God's Spirit will guide me in the right direction. Just like last week, I had been trying to have lunch with a guy from my church, and I may have shared this before, actually. It seems familiar. I showed up at his work and just walked back in the stock room because I had done work back there before on their data rack. And I just walked back to his office and knocked on his door. Hey, the door was open. I just knock, how's it going? Oh, you want to get some lunch? He didn't seem, phased about it. You know what I mean? He didn't seem upset or concerned or, how'd you get back here? Kind of thing. The door wasn't locked or whatever, but still. Within the couple of days after we had lunch, God, I believe God's Spirit guided me to say, dude, that was a, yeah, my God's Spirit calls me dude. It was like, that was a boundary violation. And it's important for me to identify that. That's the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th step. Remove these character defects. If I'm just going to brush it off, I'm not acknowledging that I am, that I have that character defect. I have to be willing to shed that character defect and do the next right thing in order to be more mindful of it in the future. I know this is not a 9th step type thing, reading, but again, it goes back to grace and being led by the Spirit rather than do not do kind of thing. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may see something good in every person, even one I dislike, and that I may let God develop the good in that person. Well, the good that I see, and the, when it, in the meditation where it says, I should pray for the one against whom I hold a resentment. I should put that person in God's hands and let God show him or her the way to live. That sounds sort of like a moral judgment on my part. I have to be careful of that. God changed them, rather than, like I said, on page 552 in the big book, where it says, God, bless them with all the things that I desire for myself. And that is different. That changes me, actually. That changes me and my attitude and my perception of them. So the prayer, in my prayer, is, God, help me see the good in them. Help me to learn more about them. And I've got plenty of stories about how God answered that prayer, and wonderful things have come out of it. So keep coming back, y'all. It's a gloomy day, but gotta have some gloomy days for it to really enjoy the good days. So look up, aim up, rise up. Love y'all.